بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. لله تبارك وتعالى. I praise Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. I ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to send countless blessings and salutations on Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his family, his companions, and all those who follow them in excellence until the day of judgment. And I ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to give us the ability to formulate sincere and noble intentions so that all of our deeds would be accepted. I remind you of the saying of the author, rahimahullah, in quoting other scholars, التصوف كله أخلاق فمن زاد عليك بالأخلاق زاد عليك بالتصوف. The author, rahimahullah, he said, Sufism in its entirety is good behavior and excellent characteristics. Of course, those characteristics are those which were conveyed in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And whoever outstrips you in these good characters has outstripped you in tasawwuf. So let us do our best to embody the noble prophetic characteristics, al-akhlaq al-mustafawiyya, those characteristics of the chosen one, whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about him, وَإِنَّكَ عَلَى خُلُقٍ وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ, that you have the highest level of noble characteristics. Insha'Allah ta'ala, I want to start our session with Al-Fatiha to Al-Sheikh Salik from Mauritania, who passed this morning in his homeland. May Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala accept his good deeds, forgive his sins, and grant him a high station under the banner of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Al-Fatiha. Now, so we reached up, before I go, Imam al-Bukhari, he related from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, verily, Allah does not snatch the knowledge from the hearts of the people. Rather, he takes it by the death of the scholars, so that when they die off, the people take unlearned people as leaders and they question them and they give answers without knowledge and they lead themselves and others astray. So every time that we lose one of the people of knowledge, we should realize that this is a great loss. And it should also inspire us to endeavor much harder to acquire the knowledge and preserve it. So, in one side, we realize the great loss, but on the other side, we realize the responsibility on us to continue the spread of knowledge, the acquiring of knowledge. So it is both a loss and a reminder. And may Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala allow us to benefit from both. Now, so we reached up to page 103, and we're talking about mujahadatun nafs, struggling or the spiritual struggle against one's lower self or one's ego. So we reached up to the statements of Al-Arifin, the knowers of Allah, and those spiritual guides who train disciples, what they said about al-mujahada, about spiritual struggle. Naam, Bismillah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. The author, may Allah Ta'ala have mercy on him, said, Imam al-Barkawi, rahimahullah, said, spiritual struggle is weaning the soul and forcing it to go against its base desires at all times. It is the commodity of the devout worshippers, the capital of the ascetics, and the crucial factor for rectifying and reforming the soul.
Really, when you look at mujahada, it is our precious goods by which we trade for rewards in the hereafter. So it is our main capital. If we are of those who worship Allah and renounce the dunya. So this is al-ubad and az-zuhad. May Allah make us among them. That spiritual struggle is an essential part of our journey to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala.
It is the prerequisite for purifying and cleansing the soul so it can arrive in the divine presence of He who is the possessor of all might and honor. O spiritual wayfarer, if you desire Allah Ta'ala's guidance, you must see to it that you roll up your sleeves and forbid your lower self from its vain passions and force it to struggle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and those who struggle.
There is a word that I want us all to remember. It's called at-tashmir. At-tashmir is diligent work. Its opposite, so diligent work. Its opposite is at-taqsir, which is falling short. So the author, he mentioned that he said, فَعَلَيْكَ أَيُّهَا السَّالِكْ بِالتَّشْمِيرِ. It is an obligation upon you. In other words, as Imam al-Haddad said, you must, right? O seeker, O wayfarer, O traveler, you must be in the state of at-tashmir. That means you work hard, you endeavor to travel the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to prevent your ego, your lower self, from its passions and desires. And you avoid a taksir. So remember, we mentioned that Al-Habib Abdullah bin Hussein bin Tahir, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said that there is no consideration in admitting a taksir, falling short, when you are actually in the state of a taksir, falling short. Rather, the real consideration is that you admit you are in the state of a taksir, falling short, while you are in the state of tashmir, endeavoring or diligently striving. So the point is, we know we are falling short. It doesn't benefit to say I'm falling short when you're falling short. No, you should be struggling hard in the state of a tashmir, and even in that state, you admit that you're falling short. So, on the scale of hasanatul abrar, sayyatul akhyar, the good deeds of the pious are the sins of the elite. So, on that scale, even when we're diligently working, we're in the state of tashmir, we realize we're still falling short. And none of us should ever say to ourselves, I'm doing all I can do. No, there is always more I can do. A tashmir is not falling short. A tashmir is endeavoring, diligently working. A taksir is falling short. So we should be in the state of tashmir, while in the state of tashmir, admitting that we are in the state of a taksir. Okay, go ahead.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "And those who struggle for our sake, we shall certainly guide them to our paths." Al-Ankabut, ayah 69.
And that's Surah 29, verse 69. And we all said that this is a verse that we should all remember, right? وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. Right? All of us should remember the last verse of Surah Al-Ankabut, the Surah of the spider.
And whoever struggles, then he does so only for the benefit of himself. Surah Al-Ankabut, ayah 6.
And both of these verses indicate the maqam of al-mujahada. As Sheikh Ali Jumu'ah mentioned, every station of the stations of the people of Tasawwuf has its proof, its evidence from the Quran. Every station of the stations of the people of Tasawwuf has its evidence in the Quran. These two verses are evidences for the station of al-mujahada, or what they call maqam al-mujahada. I want to share something with you while I'm talking about this. What I am conveying to you, please, everyone, put this up. And I say this because I don't want to, and even in the most apparent way, or the most hidden way, should I say, try to delude you or trick you or deceive you, right? I am not a spiritual guide. Could all of y'all put that up? Imam Amin, that guy, that dude, that bum, whatever you want to call me, I am not a spiritual guide. Please put that up. Back in my Ansar days, story time, they had a book called I Don't Claim to Be. I don't claim to be. So I don't claim to be a spiritual guide, nor do I want you to look at me as that. What I want you to look at me as a brother who has learned some things, who has benefited from the company of some of the pious people, and I'm sharing my learning and what I understood so that you can have an idea of where we need to go. Do y'all got it? So I am a brother who has had the fortune, the good fortune, to be amongst pious people. And I learned from them and I benefited from them. And I'm sharing that which I understood, what I learned, in order, right, so that you will know what to do to go where we need to go. Is that clear? So all of what I mentioned is what I directly learned from living teachers, living people who have traveled the path and receive whatever they receive from the path. And they in turn imparted it to us, and we took what we took from it, and now we make it available to the best of our ability. So at least you know the foundations of the path. So I just wanted to clarify that because sometimes people may misunderstand, and I don't want to be guilty of someone else's misunderstanding, so I can be explicit. Now, go ahead.
Ibn Ajiba, rahimahullah,
But
said,
one thing, what I can promise you, if you listen and you take good notes and you implement what I know, what I'm conveying to you, you won't be open to be deceived by a goofy Sufi. That I promise you. If you learn well what I'm teaching you, you take good notes, you implement it, it is extremely, highly unlikely that you will fall for a goofy Sufi. But if you don't listen, someone will sell you a bridge. I can guarantee you that. That part, you don't have to be a spiritual guide to tell you that. You will know for sure gold from copper. That you will know. You won't be in no goofy Sufi cult. That if you listen. Now, if you don't listen, and some of us don't listen, we just jump off the bridge. But if you listen, you will understand well what to do. Now you just have to struggle and do it, and then Allah guides you to a spiritual guide, if He wills, that will help you up. But you will know the characteristics, the conditions, the books, the scholars. You will know if you will be sound, inshallah ta'ala. That I can promise you, if you do your part. And if you don't do your part, I don't know what to tell you. Nah, go ahead.
Ibn Ajiba, rahimahullah, said, when the
Let me see
initiate
if you're doing your work. Who is Ibn Ajiba? Let me see if we can test that. Who is Ibn Ajiba? What is he famous for? Let's see if we're doing our part. Just give me what he's famous for, some idea. Why should he be mentioned and quoted? Especially in this subject. Right? He has a famous Sufi tafsir, that's true. What else? Good, Isa. Good. See, Isa's a sheikh. See, Isa, all you gotta do is follow Isa. And you straight. He got all the notes. So he's a famous commentator on the Hikam of who? Who wrote the Hikam? Not you, Isa. Who wrote Al-Hikam in Tasawwuf? What scholar wrote Al-Hikam? Isa, you have to bail out this one. We need to see what the rest of the class is learning. No, not Al-Ghazali. Come on. Are y'all taking good notes? The author of Al-Hikam lived almost 200 years after Imam al-Ghazali. More than 200 years. And he lived and died and was buried in Egypt. That's a help. Who is the author of Al-Hikam? Come on, come on, come on, come on. It's too many of us for not to get this. Come on. We've been over it several times during this book. We've mentioned the author of Al-Hikam multiple times. And we mentioned him so many times. We can't go forward till someone comes up with it. All right. Yeah, Malika, you close if you can spell it right. I think you're saying something, but I can't tell fully. You're close. All right, there you go. Malika, come back. Revenge. Ibn Ata'illah. Ibn Ata'illah as-Sakandari. Yes. Right. Ibn Ata'illah. Good. It's a famous book in At-Tasawwuf. Now, so Ibn Ajiba, he has the famous commentary on the Hikam of Ibn Ata'illah. So he's mentioned in this regard. And that book is called The Awakening of Aspirations. Iqadul Himam. Good. Go ahead.
when the initiate into the spiritual path enters it, he must first exert himself in rigors and struggle, as well as truthfulness and belief. These things will make clear and manifest his end state. For he whose beginning is illuminated will have his ending illuminated. He
Allah,
who
look, whoever has a good beginning, that's what's meant by his beginning is illuminated, his ending on the path will also be good. So it is essential that one starts out in a good way. And what is that way? Through al mujahada, through spiritual struggle.
He who we witness seeking after the truth in earnestness, spending out his possessions, self, soul, honor, and prestige, all for the sake of attaining the rank of actualizing slavehood and fulfilling the rights of godhood, we know that his ending will be illumined by reaching his beloved. On the other hand, he who we witness in a state of laxity, we
That
know that
one
he.
who is mukassir, that one who's mukassir, meaning they're in a state of taksir, that one who is falling short, deficient, right?
We know that he will not reach it.
Why? Because of his deficiency, not putting in the effort, not putting in the struggle. And our old saying, as they say, no pain, no gain, no struggle, no arrival, no struggle, no arrival, right? Let's put that up. No struggle, no arrival, period. No struggle, no arrival. Let's put it all up. That's it. You have to work. And we should get that in our minds so laziness doesn't become our state. You have to work. Now,
Muhi Muhyiddin ibn Arabi, rahimahullah, said in his book, The Meccan Revelations, in the
here,
second.
before we go, I want us to get our reliance of the traveler. It's very important that this figure, if we go to page 1080 in our reliance, let's move to the reliance. Uh, so we want to read the biography of Sheikh Muhyiddin ibn Arabi, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He is a very important figure in at-tasawwuf. Not only a very important figure, but an also a great master who many people have failed to understand properly and thereby accused him of deviance and heresy. But he is one of the foremost leaders of the people of Tasawwuf, till he got the title as Sheikh Al Akbar, rahimahullah ta'ala. So if you just say in Tasawwuf, as Sheikh Al Akbar, it means Ibn Arabi, right? And whenever you hear in Tasawwuf, someone says as Sheikh Al Akbar, they're talking about Ibn Arabi, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Wa alaikum salam. So let us read that biography. It is X265.
Muhyiddin ibn al-Arabi, R20.3, is Muhammad ibn Ali ibn Muhammad ibn al-Arabi Abu Bakr Muhyiddin al-Hatimi al-Ta'i, the greatest Ta'i, the greatest Sheikh, al-Sheikh al-Akbar. Born in Murcia in present day Spain in 560 1165, a mujtahid imam in sacred law, Sufism, Quranic exegesis, hadith, and other Islamic sciences, and widely
Here,
regarded
the
as a
point that you should highlight that he mentioned a mujtahid imam in sacred law. So when we talk about Ibn Arabi, you're normally going to talk about him in the science of tasawwuf. But people forget that he was a master of the sacred law, a master. So he reached the level of ijtihad. Mm.
and widely regarded as a friend, wali of Allah Ta'ala Most High. He was the foremost representative of the Sufi school of the oneness of being, Wahdat al-Wujud, discussed at X5, as well as a Muslim of strict literal observances of the prescriptions of the Quran and Sunnah. He first took the way of Sufism in AH 580, and in the years that followed, authored some 600 books and treatises in the course of travels and residences in Fez, Tunis, Alexandria, Cairo, Mecca, Baghdad, Mosul, Konya, Aleppo, and finally Damascus, where he lived till the end of his life and completed his Al Futuhat al Makkiyah, the Meccan revelations, and Fusus al Hikam, the precious stones of the ring settings of the wisdoms.
So to give
Since
you this, where he is buried, the masjid, where he is, that is where Sheikh Samir teaches the Quran. And that is where his sheikh taught the Quran. So this is the location where Sheikh Samir is at. That's where his sessions were held in the morning time. Mm. And Sheikh Samir is one of the foremost scholars of Damascus who is very familiar and mastered the works of Sheikh al-Akbar. Now,
Since interest in his work continues among even non Muslim scholars, a number of hermeneutical obstacles are worth mentioning here that have, in some measure, so far hindered serious efforts to understand the Sheikh's works by friend and foe alike.
and here is a warning. When we mention Sheikh al-Akbar Ibn Arabi, I advise you, please take it. Do not read his books. Put that up. Though we praise him, though we mention his high rank, do not read his books. Can we put that up? Though we mention him, though we praise his high rank and mention those things, do not read his books. Let's put that up first. Do y'all have it? Y'all with me? I'm going to tell you why. Did we get a freeze? She said, yeah, we're going to shorten that, right? Good. This is important. It's only okay, right. Ibn Arabi. Now, why do we say don't read his books? Is it because he's not a pious sheikh? No. Is it because they are not true? No. Especially for us in English, most, if not 90%, that's most, of his books were translated by Orientalists. Orientalists are non-Muslims who write about Islam. And they misunderstood mostly everything he said. And one would read those books and come away with concepts that are totally foreign to Islam. I repeat, most of his books that are translated in English were translated by Orientalists who are non-Muslims who write about Islam. And they totally misunderstood the words of the Sheikh because they didn't learn the foundational beliefs of Islam. And if one were to read them, according to their translation, one would come up with concepts that are blasphemous in Islam. As far as the Arabic books, there is also tampering with his works, including in his works that which is not authentically attributed to him. And this is a danger. The third possibility is that the one who is talking about him was talking from his level, not from Ibn Arabi's level. So Sheikh al-Akbar is at a level of discussion that the average person would not understand. And he's speaking from his rank, his witnessing of divine realities, and we're not there. So sometimes that would get missed in translation, even in Arabic, meaning when you're translating those states to what you understand. So for all of these reasons, our exacting scholars of Tasawwuf warned us from reading the books of Sheikh al-Akbar ibn Arabi, while never denying his spiritual rank. Is these reasons clear? Is that clear for everyone? Is it clear? So whenever we mention him, all of these things need to be in one's mind, right? And this was the position of our teachers. However, we have, and we still do, and presently we are now, reading some of his books with our teachers who are qualified to explain those books, right? And we're not reading every single book, certain books. Some books we just avoid altogether. Then some other books our teachers read with us. So this is a warning because most of you won't have access to the teacher to teach you. So therefore, you're going to go read those books from the Orientalists, and you may come, especially if you didn't learn, you're going to come away with some crazy stuff. Things that are kufr, if you believe them. Like thinking you can become Allah, or uniting with Allah, or Allah indwelling in you, or everything in the creation is Allah. And these people who didn't understand Islam from the beginning, they translated the works of Sheikh al-Akbar and they have all those things in them. So be warned about that. Naam, go ahead.
The first is lack of common ground with the author, who has written, "We are a group whose works are unlawful to peruse, since the Sufis, one and all, use terms in technical senses by which they intend other than what is customarily meant by their usage among scholars, and those who interpret them according to their usual significance commit unbelief."
Read that again. So we're talking about someone who's speaking from his realm. I know our arrogance sometimes make us think we're all equal. We're not. I know our arrogance and self-amazement make us think that we're all equal. We're not. So read that again.
We are a group. The first is lack of common ground with the author who has written, "We are a group whose works are unlawful to peruse, since the Sufis, one and all, use terms and technical senses by which they intend other than what is customarily meant by their usage among scholars, and those who interpret them according to their usual significance commit unbelief."
Right. So he's warning you, saying, hey. We speak in a language that we understand. And we use words that have different meanings in different sciences, but when we use them, they have a different meaning. So if you don't understand those meanings, you're going to fall into disbelief. So that's why they said it's for our people. And you would find the people of Tasawwuf, Oftentimes, when they're writing and they approach these realities, they say this is where the pen stops. Because at this point, these things cannot be articulated. This is where the pen stops. Go ahead.
While this may not be particularly intimidating to someone who is already an unbeliever,
Like
it does.
those mustashrikun, those Orientalists, they're not afraid. They're kafir anyway. So, you know, go ahead.
It does at least implicitly deny the validity of a do it yourself approach to the Sheikh's thought and point up the relevance of the traditional maxim knowledge is to be taken from those who possess it.
Knowledge is to be taken from those who possess it, right? Knowledge is to be taken from those who possess it. And we should submit to that. And don't feel so egotistical to admit there's some things you don't understand. It's okay, right? Especially when you approach. I'll tell you a story. One time, one of my teachers, he said to me, read Al-Futuhat Al-Makkiyah. I said to him, Sheikh, I can't read that. He said, yes, you can. You've learned enough. You can go through it. For reading, not teaching, just to read. I said, Sheikh, I can't read that. He told me again. Because we have a certain copy that's like one of the most authentic copies of the book available, right? He said, this one, you can read it. I read the first few pages. I closed the book. I said, this is way above my pay grade. Why I said that? And I told him, I said, he speaks at a level that I don't understand, and I fear for myself from not understanding that I would deny divine realities. He speaks in a language that I can't understand, and I fear for myself that I would deny divine realities. Not that what he's saying is not true. It's above my pay grade. Right? Yeah, Nail, you should doubt yourself too. Really, you should doubt yourself. No, I'm joking. Hey, that's my joke for you for today. No, honestly, these are slippery slopes. So one should be careful, right? And nothing is better than safety, precaution. And nothing is better than safety and precaution. You follow? Now, go ahead.
A related difficulty is that the context of much of Ibn al-Arabi's Rahimahullah Futuhat and other works is not only the outward Islamic sciences, but also their inner significance, not by any means an esoteric symbolism that nullifies the outward content of the Sheikh's inquiries, but a dimension of depth, a reflective counterpart to their this worldly significance, whose place in existential context is the world of the spirit, to which the physical universe, in which many of his would be interpreters are firmly enmeshed and know nothing besides, especially those who are atheists, is like a speck of dust in the sea. While the present discussion cannot adequately do justice to the topic, one may yet observe that the heart of someone familiar only with the what will I eat, what will I say, will it prove feasible, and other physical and intellectual relations of instrumentality that make up this world is no more capable of real insight into the world of someone like the Sheikh than a person inches away from a giant Monet is capable of seeing the picture he believes is, quote, right before his eyes, before his
And
very eyes.
this is important. When you look when you look at the works of some of these great spiritual masters and you look at it from your eyes, you're going to misunderstand many, many things. And that's what Imam al-Haddad said. He said that person would say, I only read these books and I get what I understand. I only read these books and I take what I understand. And Imam al-Haddad said, you speak fairly, we got you. But what is feared for you is that what you think you understand, you misunderstand and thereby go astray. Look what Imam al-Haddad said. What is feared for you is that what you think you understand, you misunderstand and thereby go astray. I'm going to repeat that. Imam al-Haddad said, what is feared for you is that what you think you understand, you misunderstand and thereby go astray. That's a warning. That's a warning. And it's a warning that we should take. And for safety, no need to go into the water that's full of sharks because you think you're a great swimmer. When there is clear water, you follow? When there is water that has no sharks, I'm a great swimmer. Let me go ahead and swim in the current. Man, just swim in the water where it's safe. Do y'all get the lesson? Y'all get the point? None of it reflects the sheikh. All of it reflects us. None of it reflects the sheikh. All of it reflects us. And our old hip hop imam of the boom bap way, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Go ahead.
The way of Ibn al-Arabi, rahimahullah, is precisely a way, and if one has not traveled it or been trained to see as Ibn al-Arabi, rahimahullah, sees, one may well produce intelligent remarks about one's perceptions of the matter, as attested to by a whole literature of historical studies of Sufism. But the fact remains that one does not see. A third difficulty is the problem of spurious interpolations by copyists, as once happened to Abdul Wahab Shafrani.
Now, Abdul Wahab al-Sha'rani made, and I love his works, because he took the works of Ibn Arabi and made them accessible to some extent. Those books we read with relatively easiness. They're very much. So it's a way of getting a window into the world of Sheikh al-Akbar, toned down by a spiritual master, and allows you to see some of the things. So we have a summary of the Futuhat by Sheikh al-Sha'rani, which is a little bit easier to read, right? And it kind of takes it down a few notches. That makes it accessible a little bit.
Who had to...
So I would recommend, if one wanted to get some idea to the level of the works of Ibn Arabi, read the works of Imam al-Sha'rani. And they're more practical and closer to our degree of understanding. And it gives us a light into the world of Ibn Arabi, while strict adherence to the sacred law is maintained.
Who had to bring his own handwritten manuscript to court to prove he was innocent of the unbelief that enemies had inserted into his work and published in his name. The Hashiyah of Ibn Abidin, rahimahullah, notes that this
This is Hanafi book. Hashiyah Ibn Abidin is a Hanafi book.
notes that this has also happened to the Fusus al-Hikam of Ibn al-Arabi, the details being given in a promulgation by the Supreme Ottoman Sultanate exonerating the author of the statements of unbelief, kufr. It said that the Jews had interpolated into his work,
This is
into
the
the work.
same thing that's happening with Sheikh Al Akbar, that those Jews and Christians, those non Muslims, they put in his works things he didn't say. And the same would happen to Imam Sha'rani. Mm.
This is supported by the opinion of Mahmud Ghurab, an Ibn al-Arabi specialist of Damascus, who has published more than 12 books on the Sheikh's thought. Among
Alhamdulillah, we have, after years of diligent searching, we have all of his books. MashaAllah. I remember at one time, we only had one book. Sheikh Samuel said, this one is a specialist. And so I was with another Sheikh, and he had the book. And I was looking, because Sheikh had told me about the book. We didn't have it. He told me about the book. And all those stories of Sheikh Al Akbar, I used to listen directly to Sheikh Samir. And he told me about this author uh, and his works. So one time I was with one of my other teachers. I was in his library, and we were just talking, and my eye went to the left. I never forget this, because of stacks of books. And this one book just stood out. So I said to the Sheikh, I said, what's that? He said, oh, this is a book on Sheikh Al Akbar, because he's a lover of Sheikh Al Akbar as well. I pulled it out, and it was one of those books written by Sheikh Ghurab, right? And I said, MashaAllah. And he said, take it. So that was, and I showed Sheikh. He said, that's it. Then I was in Lebanon, and it was the last day of the International Book Fair in Beirut. The last day. So all the books were, we looked over, book searching. So we went to this one small little booth with an old man from Damascus. The last day, he brought out one copy, that's all he had, of all those books on Sheikh Al Akbar by Sheikh Ghurab. And we got all of them. It was the last, he had one copy, and he waited to the last day. And we would have never walked by that place. And we just happened to stroll by that one. One of the brothers, he said, come check out this. He's put out a bunch of rare books. The last day of the book fair. And we got them all. MashaAllah. It was such a interesting story. That's that Jahid to Shahid stuff. We looking and looking and looking. It was the last day and only one copy. We got all of them. And there you cannot find these books. Subhanallah. So I told Sheikh Samir that he was so happy. And, and a lot of the books he wrote in refuting Ibn Taymiyyah. So he compared between Sheikh Al Akbar and Ibn Taymiyyah in the different aspects of at-tasawwuf, because Ibn Taymiyyah was an opponent of Sheikh Al Akbar ibn Arabi. So he clarified a lot of those issues. MashaAllah. Now,
Among them, al-Fiqh in al-Sheikh al-Akbar Muhyiddin ibn
do you have time
al-Arabi,
to finish this or no? It's one page. I won't interrupt.
inshallah.
I'm sorry. We can stop and continue tomorrow. Let us stop to be respectful of each other's time. Where are we at?
1081, top of the page.
Okay. We'll pick up tomorrow, inshallah. Time just goes fast sometimes when you're so so what in closing, what I would say to you, right? Oh, let me mark this too. What page was that? Where's that? Go ahead.
1081, like
One,
about 4 sentences, 5 sentences down.
oh, that's 104 at the top. I want to say something. Um, in closing, if you follow well what we've been covering from the time we started, and it's important, you will understand Sunni Islam. You will understand Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, the foundations. And in our communities, especially the African American communities, traditional Sunni Islam has not been spread well in all of its aspects, especially its primary sciences of al-aqidah, al-fiqh, and at-tasawwuf. What we're trying to do on this platform is to give you access, grant you access to understanding. We don't want groupies. It doesn't help us. Honestly, please, please do not be a groupie. Don't be a groupie. Actually learn your deen well, right? Because when you have this groupie mentality, you just jump from one place to another, to another, to another. I see it all the time, all over the place, right? Don't do that. Learn well so that you have a scale to weigh things. You don't have to be a scholar to do that. If you learn your basics well, you'll be able to weigh the different information that comes to you. You'll have a scale to weigh it. You'll understand when something is excessive, something is falling short, something is in the middle, something is probable, something is impossible. You'll understand that, right? It doesn't mean you're not going to make mistakes. That doesn't mean you're going to be, you're not going to have errors. Yes, you will. But you won't go off the deep end, right? That's really, really what we need the most, is that we know our deen well enough that we don't go off the deep end. Nor do we fall too short. We in that range of the middle ground very well. Do y'all follow me? We know what Sunni Islam is. We're not guessing. We know our scholars. We know our books, right? Do you follow what I mean? We can recognize extremism when we see it. We can recognize difference of opinion when we see it. I know that's what you're saying, but this is a valid approach as well. We're never going to go to excess in our approaches. We need that in our community bad. We need to understand our deen very well. Y'all follow me? That's the biggest job we have. And I watch. I'm not following people. I just see it because you come down by my timeline. I'm not looking at people's individual page. But when it comes down the timeline, you can't do anything. That's Facebook. So you see stuff. And I see people from us making major blunders because they're so curious like the cat. But you know the old saying, curiosity killed the cat. And I see we're like the feather just blown in the wind. Whenever someone says something, woo, woo, all over the place. Please, 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 learn one thing well. Stick with one system and learn it well. Once you do that, then you start branching all over the place. I see people from extremes all over the spectrum, way left, way right, never the middle ground. That's because they never learned properly first, right? So you all over the place. Please, please, please buckle down, right? At least be able to fully understand basic concepts. If you don't understand basic concepts, you're going to find yourself in a lot of confusion. And there's a lot of confusion out here waiting for you. So the most important thing that I can encourage you to do is to learn well, study well, review well, listen well, and research well. All of those things are essential. If you take nothing from me but that, please, please do it. I beg you, because I care about you, you know? And don't just be so quick to be a teacher. Slow down. Don't be so quick to be a teacher. Conveying, sharing your notes, sharing your information is different from trying to be a teacher. It's two different things. Please put that up. Can we quickly? Sharing your notes and information is different, extremely different from trying to be a teacher. Can we put that up? Sharing your notes and information is extremely different from trying to be a teacher. It's two different things. And don't mix them. Can we put that up? Sharing your notes and information is extremely different from trying to be a teacher. Some of us don't understand this point yet. We want to be raisins before we're grapes. You should share your notes. You should share your information. Don't try to make it you. Don't try to be the teacher. You are a student and you are sharing what you learned from your teachers. Don't try to become the teacher until that teacher authorizes you to teach. It's different from sharing. All of us should share. That's different from trying to become a teacher. All of us should share. And for us, don't mix the two. Because, some of us, we come on the platform, we take a few notes, and then we want to be Sheikh al-Islam. Don't do that. You didn't even understand your notes well. How are you trying to teach? You didn't understand the notes you're sharing. You don't understand them. So don't mix them up. Don't rush. It's time. One day, you keep working, you keep struggling. All of us, we will become teachers. Right now, we are conveyors. At this stage, we are transmitters. We're not teachers, we're transmitters. What am I conveying from you? That which I learned from my teachers. Even though my teachers authorized me to teach, I still feel as for myself, I'm just a conveyor and a transmitter, right? Even with permission to teach, I don't feel that way. We still have a long way to go before we're actually teachers. But to convey what we received, you took good notes, you understood your notes, you have the information, you can convey it, you can share it, you have that ability, yes. But to be an interpreter, to be a teacher, that's another stage, right? And let's not get too big for our britches, so we don't harm ourselves and others, right? But do share. I didn't say don't share. Do share. And share whatever you properly understood or you properly wrote down, right? Share it. It's important. And that's sufficient. That's good enough. Don't let your ego make you more than you are in your imagination. Stay in your lane. Do you follow? Is this point clear? And yes, I am talking to those who it apply to, even if it's myself. Let me repeat that. And yes, I am talking to those who it apply to, even if it's myself. It is a reminder for all of us, right? But don't take this point to interpret it to mean don't share. I didn't say that. You should share. Whatever you learn and you understood it, you should share it with others. You should convey it. That doesn't make you a teacher. It makes you a transmitter, a conveyor. You missed it. I was there. I heard it. I'm sharing to you what I heard. I'm sharing with you what I heard. That's good, and you should do it. But now you want to take what you heard, and now you want to have your own platform and open your own stuff. And then soon as someone comes to you, you lost. This is a problem, right? What always looks easy is not as easy as it looks. You know, the ego says, man, I could do that, right? And then when you're in the driver's seat, you can't do that. And you may harm more than you benefit. When it would have been much easy for you just convey what you learned and stop there. Don't try to make a name for yourself, right? And beware, we're all students. So when you see some of us breaking off, trying to be shake on the down low, warn us, say, hey, you still a student. Go sit down, right? You still a student. You should go learn. Because you would be conveying some information, and then when you run short, you supplement it with stuff that you didn't learn. And that's dangerous. But you're not telling the people, I didn't learn this, and you're supplementing, right? This is serious. No, I'm being honest. It's a warning for us because we do it. All of us want to be relevant sometimes. Not every single one of us, but a lot of us, we want to be the man or the woman. And we don't wait till we are the man and the woman. We push that process ahead and we be going for it. And because we didn't learn, we don't know when we made serious blunders. So at that point, we need to check ourselves. Do y'all follow me? I see it. Don't think I don't see it. I see it. And I'm just telling us so we don't make that mistake. Be careful. Slow down. It's okay. As Sheikh Walid used to say, slow down, chunky. Slow down. It's fine. One day we hope that we all become teachers, right? But it takes time, right? So when you see someone doing a thing, yes, that's a big problem. For me too. Listen, I'm going to share something with you. I have a lot of stuff that I would love to share with you that I believe I understand and I can convey it. But I also realize that it will be a fitna for others. And it's not at the level of everybody, right? So I don't even mention it. The stuff I read, the stuff I study regularly with my teachers, which I understand and I could convey. I've conveyed it in their presence, but it's not for everybody. Everybody would not understand. And I ain't talking about spiritual now. I'm talking about just regular basic Islamic sciences. Some is just above our pay grade. So don't go there. Build us up to that, right? Do you follow what I mean? And there's some things that I fully understand, but I'm not comfortable with conveying them. I do understand, but I don't want to make no mistakes, so I'm going to leave that alone. Right? It would be beneficial. It would be nice. And I'm enjoying, but what you may enjoy may be a fitna for somebody else because they may not understand, right? So you don't do it. It happened to me one time. I'll share this quick story. If you have to go, may Allah reward you. I'm just going to share a quick story because I like being with y'all. I like talking to y'all. It makes me happy. Let me, before I make me happy, let me put up the summit. 1 second. I'm supposed to do this every day, but I forget. So I remind you of the African American Islamic Summit coming up. It's getting bigger and bigger. MashaAllah, we have a nice surprise coming. It's going to be really nice, inshallah ta'ala. It's really shaping into a much bigger form. So inshallah ta'ala, please register, please spread it, share it on your pages, share the link. So make it easy for people to go to it. So share the link. Even if you put the flyer, it's written there. But if you also put the link, if you can copy that link and put the link too with the flyer, it will make it much easier for people, inshallah. And if everyone do a little bit to help, it will be a huge success, inshallah ta'ala. During Ramadan, inshallah, we're going to have different speakers that are going to be the summit to come and give you some preview to their presentations, inshallah ta'ala. So let me tell you this quick story before I go. I remember one of my teachers one time. I was younger then, though. And he used to tell us like stories, karamat, right? Miracles of the awliya, right? So one day, I was teaching classes. So I was sitting with the students in the masjid. And, we were just kicking it with students. We'd finished our lesson. So I told them one of the stories that the sheikh had told me about the karamat. And when the sheikh found out that I told that story, he was extremely upset with me. And when he saw me, he let me know how upset he was. He was like, don't do that again. He said, because sometimes some things are above the understanding of people, and you would cause them to go astray by denying realities. And I didn't think of it that way. I never thought that when I tell this incident that this person would doubt the religion altogether. It never came to my mind. That, oh man, that's not true. This is all fake. It never crossed my mind, especially among students. But sometimes, if the person's level is not there, they didn't learn enough, so they don't know how to process things. And now you became a fitna for them. Right? So, especially when you're talking about these matters, because these are matters that are not the norm. And some people are not at the level to understand the extraordinary. And they didn't learn enough the religion to learn how to accept things, even if they don't understand them fully. They're not at that level. So now you became a fitna for that person. a sedition. So be careful, all of us. You know what I mean? Am I clear with the point I'm making? That doesn't mean we're not going to fall short sometime and get excited and say something we shouldn't say, but we should be cautious as much as possible, especially on the internet, because we don't know who's listening, right? We don't know who's listening. So we should try our best to lay down a foundation. And there are things that are specific and private for its people, as Sheikh Al Akbar mentioned. And we know we're not its people, so no need. And if Allah gave us some good gift that we reach some spiritual level, that's for us and that's for you, and enjoy it. No need tempting me with my religion, with your experiences, right? Yeah, no, it's true. It's real. Ain't nobody trying to slip, right? We've done enough slipping as a people. We don't need to keep slipping. So we need to watch out for the pitfalls, even if we're the one walking into them. And we're a constant reminder for each other. That's how we're going to be successful. We're not going to be successful making claims. Seriously, that's not going to work. That is not going to work. We'll be successful by following that old time religion, right? Sticking to our obligations, avoiding the prohibitions, doing some extra deeds. And basically, that's supererogatory actions. Basically, that's sufficient. And if Allah takes us to another level, that's great. But if we can get just those basic things together, we good, right? At the end of the day, we want to safely make it to Al Jannah. That's it. All right, Barakallahu bikum. Today is Monday. Sheikh Walid Al Rifai will come on at 7 o'clock. Please, please, please share the African American Islamic Summit. We need your help. I'm calling on you to help. Please, please, please. We need these events as a people. We need them to be successful. We need them to be well attended. And we want to do more than we did last year, right? So let all of us do our part to help it out, inshallah. Barakallahu fikum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.